Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Spirit Journey. How are you doing? Yes, today is Saturday, July 9, 2022, and the time is now 6:46 p.m. Boy, I want to talk about, I'm going to talk about Ethiopia, but I'm going to talk about Ethiopia um, as a representation of what happens to many nations. And it's not like I, I I'm going to share what I want to talk about. Um, I'm in no way wanting to um, put down. My intention is not to put down, but understanding. And I ask myself why. In the description, well, why and what happened. Oh, yeah, I actually watched two shows on the internet, on YouTube. And it was about, they mentioned Ethiopia. And what do we think of when we think of Ethiopia? We think of, at least with me, um, the romanticism of a people that is mentioned in the Bible, um, the mysticism, because there's a lot of religion attached to that country via the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament. Yes, good afternoon, viewer. Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm just starting now. It just had me have questions. Um, yeah, I watched two individuals, and they shared a lot of the things overlapped. They talked about they have this church there, and it's um, dug underground. It's a solid rock, solid stone, and they carved from the surface all the way down. And the shape of the church is like a cross. It's really interesting. The artwork, the beautiful artwork. I like a lot of the Ethiopian drawings. And it's nice to see people that kind of look like you know. So I think that's why I really like it. Um, let's see. I remember growing up, I went away to school just for a semester for college. And there I met people from Ethiopia. This was in the early 1980s, and I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, they had, in that school, a large number of African students. And yes, I did have an opportunity to meet two women that I know specifically. They were from Ethiopia. Um, yeah, Ethiopians, they come in different varieties, different looks. And really interesting. My, let's see, my main interest about doing this video, as a result of watching those two videos on Ethiopia, the history of Ethiopia, you know, I didn't know that Ethiopia had communism. I didn't know that. Um, Only thing I really knew about it that they're mentioned in the Bible is something always kind of mystical or religious about the place. Um, Unfortunately, in the early 80s, there were famine. Unfortunately, that's what I really know Ethiopia about. Um, yeah, they mentioned like from 1983 to 85, they had a famine in the northern part of Ethiopia. And I saw horrific videos of them back in the day. Um, and then you hear about their, their groups in, there were a migration of Ethiopians, um, Ethiopian Jews living in Israel and how they are mistreated. And it's like, boy. So it's like a country that has such a long history. And it mentioned that it had a lot of independence for centuries. And they even had an emperor, a man that was, what do you call it, coronated, what was that, in the 1950s or 60s, Haile Selassie. And so we have all these different images, and um, it produces a lot of excitement to different people for different reasons. And when Jamaica learned about Haile Selassie, um, they formed a group and they named their faith after him, Rastafarians, and or Rastafari. That was, I think, his birth name, Haile Selassie, and so they named their faith in him, and they believed that he was like a savior figure. And so that's what I really want to talk about. This, all that, like a mesh of all different things about Ethiopia, that it, it sparks different emotions, different visuals in your head, definitely with me. Um, and that's what I really want to talk about. And ask myself, a country, again, I'm not trying to attack the country, verbally, but it's just for thought, and how that nation is really representing many nations on the planet. Um, and that's the essence of what I want to talk about, the essence that they have that is characteristic of many nations that are in the position that they're in today. Um, a lot of struggle. Um, there's a lot of, let's see, how do I word it? It's really, I'm trying to get my thoughts together. Well, despite all the heritage that it has and a lot of religious tradition, it's in a position of, at least at times in its history, chaos. Um, there was a lot of starvation in certain parts of Ethiopia. Um, and I asked myself why. Yes, there was a famine, but it was so severe. And I think they said about two, was that 200,000 or 500,000 people died in this about this 2-year famine. I've never been in a famine. Could you imagine something like that happen in the U.S., a famine? Famine could kill anybody. I got confused. I said, all this tradition that it has a fantastic artwork. It has its legacy and history. What's going on? Why? So I was watching the videos, and then I said to myself, I think I know why. Religion. I think religion is holding it and many nations on this planet. What type of religion? They do embrace Old and New Testament. And I feel like religion, especially the Abrahamic faith, see, if something serves you, you serve it. But you have to ask yourself, there's such devotion, this religious devotion that they have in that nation. They have their own alphabet. They have, allegedly they have the Ark of the Covenant that the Hebrews, the ancient Hebrews had. And it's supposed to be hidden somewhere in Ethiopia. And you have people, researchers all over the world want to get their hands on that object, that relic. So all these things that you would think would really support the nation. I mean, it's the envy of a lot of nations to have some of the religious artifacts, and to have such an ancient history linking itself with the Bible. I think that country, Ethiopia, is the first country or people that's really mentioned in the Bible by name. So it's like impressive to those who embrace the Abrahamic religions. But with all this, why it's like a standstill? And the type of growth, what happened? How could you have people starving? You have people who live in deserts on this planet, and they're thriving. They have a water system that irrigates things. The technology that, in spite of living on a desert like Saudi Arabia, most of its land is desert. But they utilize science. And maybe they're getting help, I don't know, but they have now oil, and they're getting a lot of money for the oil, and they're able to have the type of infrastructure. Now, why is it with this Abrahamic faith system, why do I feel that those individuals who embrace some of the Abrahamic faith system, how come they're like in a state of like they're frozen in time, and the poverty that could link with it. I think women they're not really, things like in their religious ceremonies, the men and women are separate. It confuses me. So especially when you have women separate, there's a hierarchy. I don't understand it. I don't understand how, if the word is true in the Bible, if God loves its people, how come God is not seeming to love an ancient people to have the Ethiopians thrive? What is holding them back? And I feel it's religion. I feel that some religions could just hold us back and not have us think beyond. And we're spending a lot of times praying, singing, but maybe not asking for answers, or how, I just don't understand it. If God is real, and all this devotion, and the technology they did have to build these fantastic structures, dedication, all this energy is being used to uplift a force, a concept, a philosophy, and all the energy is going from outside of themselves. They're not feeding themselves. It seems like religion takes all your resources, it takes all your energy, all your focus, and extends it outwardly. It doesn't seem like it's creating the, like, what's going on around you. They go to church, they look beautiful in what they do. It looks gorgeous. It's very attractive. But it's like stuck. And when they started talking about the religion, now again, I'm not attacking your religion. If you, whatever what religion you hold on, if it serves you, serve it. But it just had me ask questions, and I had questions like, oh, what was that? Haile Selassie. Now he was coronated as there was, it was, he was the last emperor. He's said to be um, um, from the direct lineage of King Solomon, the same King Solomon from the Bible in the Old Testament. And that he had a son, King Solomon had a son with um, Candace, the queen of Ethiopia of that time. That is impressive. And it's interesting, and I'm wondering whether this is something linked to the problem. When you look at what's Haile Selassie is no longer living, but when they showed pictures of him, he looks remarkably different than the rest of the Ethiopians. And I'm wondering whether this is a problem. So when you have a leader or king, and they look different than the masses of people, that suggests to me a heritage that is branches away from the masses of the people there. So are the people going to be treated fairly? Are they going to be treated as one, or like an us and them? And this is important in religion because, see, if you are from another place, or let's say you were a conqueror, and you conquered that region of the world called Ethiopia, how are they going to be treated? But we just think of Ethiopia as one people. But when you look on modern day Ethiopia, they're very diverse. And I thought it was really something when they showed Haile Selassie. He looked very different than the masses of the people. And that could be a problem. So it might be like an us and them. If you can just by appearance alone know that you might not be really related, the ruler may not be really related to the people that they are subjugating. And this could be a problem. You have a religious figure in history. They have children with a particular group. And it's like a colonialism. Isn't this also a form of colonialism? When you have imperialism. You have a group, they enter a nation, they impose a religion, maybe a language. But in the end, how are the people faring? And so you had a group in Jamaica. And when they learned of Haile Selassie was really admired by a lot of people on the planet. And I think the whole excitement of seeing someone, a man of, what they call a man of color, receiving a lot of attention from what they call the Western world, people were like, wow, they wanted more of him. And the people from Jamaica, in particular, was really fascinated by him. And Haile Selassie was very flattered about their being admired by some people, overseas. And he even allowed them, the African diaspora, at least in the West, to live in his country, to live on his land, because he as emperor had land, and he set aside some of that land to the Rastafarians that are living there. There's about oh, I think in this town maybe, if I understood right, about 400 people. It's not like a lot of people, but it seems to be some conflict there. They're happy to live there, but there is some conflict. Um, what I didn't know, okay, also with Haile Selassie, um, he was in exile during World War II. Well, even before that, Ethiopia had fought off the Italians, and they lucked out. There were certain circumstances that were in their favor, the Ethiopians' favor, and they were able to successfully destroy the invasion of the Italians. Um, and I think that boosted the reputation of Ethiopia at that time. But some years later, Italy did revenge back on Ethiopia. And that's when Haile Selassie was exiled overseas. I forget what country he was exiled at. And that lasted for some years, and then he was able to come back. The fall of Italy after, I think, let's see, it must have been sometime after World War II, when Italy lost, with World War II, that's when he came back. And, what else? So, what I thought was interesting with Haile Selassie, well, when he came back, there was some conflict. Now, initially, people really were praising Haile Selassie, and then something creeped into their country. And I think this is really important for any other nation around. I mean, again, I'm not just trying to isolate and to insult Ethiopia, the nation, not at all, but I'm using it as an example what's happening all over. Hints of it's happening all over, and happening here in America. That's where I'm from, and that's where I'm living at right now. Um, so what happened with Haile Selassie? Well, after World War II, the country is coming back and everything. He was getting opposition. So here he was celebrated for many years, and then now after World War II, he's being criticized, and he's criticized about a famine that they had, and a lot of people died. So guess what? What I didn't know, he was arrested in his own country. Here he's the emperor. They criticized everything about him. They arrested him, and it is said that he was smothered to death. They have even a photograph of him being escorted into this. It was I think a Volkswagen Beetle, that vehicle, and they have a photograph of him entering, and he was killed. That I didn't know. Wow. And right after that, guess who comes into power? The communist communism. So what it looks like, what happened after the war, you had a shifting going on. And Ethiopia was, I think, what's the word when you come, they're being spied on. You had people from who knows where examining, studying the people, and encouraging the people to hate their emperor, Haile Selassie. They were criticized, oh, he has all the land and people are starving, blah, 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 blah. What it looks like is that the communists poisoned the minds of the people that live in Ethiopia. Isn't this a repeat of what happened like in France, you know, their revolution there, Russia, and it was Russians that infiltrated Ethiopia. They even invited Ethiopians to study in their country. And they taught them the different styles of art. It was several times that was done, that Russia asked for some of the Ethiopians to go and study in Russia. And it's like, why do they have to, why does the African have to go over there to study, to learn about art? See, they were learning the technique of manipulating people through propaganda. That's what they were learning there in Russia. They were learning about to do illustrations, to persuade people certain attitudes. And that's what they were mastering. And that's what got Haile Selassie kicked out, utilizing the Ethiopians to do it. So that the communist regime lasted a couple of years, and then it fell apart. Right now it's supposed to be a democracy. And people in Ethiopia, some will go overseas to learn, different skills. So I asked myself with all this, see, when I'm listening to the story of Ethiopia, and did you hear recently? Yeah, what was that? About 2 months ago, and I was surprised. See, I didn't know about this history about communism in Ethiopia, or Russia's involvement with Ethiopia. Someone said on social media that Russia is asking for people to volunteer, or I should say, register in the Russian military. And you had a flock of Ethiopian men at the embassy, and I showed a video of that before, waiting online to become a soldier of some type for Russia. I said, why? Why would they do that? Poverty. Poverty. When people are hungry, people will do almost anything, even fight for another country. But it really makes a lot of sense, the connection that Ethiopia had some years ago. So it's ties here. So Ethiopia has ties with Russia. It sounds like a bad joke. It's something I just didn't know about. But it's influencing the people today. And when you have somebody from outside that can get such a stronghold over a people, and it makes me really question about their their, their mind. That it's like they don't. It seems like for me, an outsider, that when something foreign enters, like before that entity comes in, everything seemed to be okay. They were okay having an emperor. They were okay with a lot of things. But somebody from outside came in and influenced the lifestyle of the people. You have beautiful, beautiful land in Ethiopia. Wow. I mean, and again, it's such an old country. And they said that it's one of the most, maybe the oldest country on the planet. I think the humanity started around that area in Ethiopia. Such a history, but it's like it's not thriving. Why isn't it thriving like its neighbor? You know, well, I shouldn't say neighbor, but like Western civilizations. Because they're not controlling their destiny, and some foreign entity is. What attaches itself to it? Religion. Religion attaches itself. When you have someone that's just praying to something that's not delivering them from famine, the separation of women, men and women, not giving them discernment about these people who are teaching them communism, and to overthrow their own emperor. There was no problems before. It seems like these outside forces is what's harming many nations. Again, I'm just using Ethiopia as an example, because I just watched 2 shows about Ethiopia, even though it has so much going for itself. How is it that, like Western Europe, they do have churches there too, but the people aren't like as focused on it. They might go to church maybe one day a week or something, but they're about capitalism, they're about money, they're about science. And they have a different outcome as a result. Their outcome is they're flourishing in comparison. And I want to see people, I want to flourish. And I want nations around the world to flourish. But when you see something like, you ask yourself, it has everything going for it. But why isn't it thriving? And I'm thinking that these groups have formed these religions, these major Abrahamic religions, is part of the big seed of poison that's happening in the nations. I don't know what else to really say about that. It seems to help everybody else but those nations, especially those nations outside of the Western world. It seems like these Abrahamic faiths imposes this devotion. But you notice in those nations, like in Western Europe, they're thriving. Somehow God seems to like them more. They do less with religion, but God gives them more. You have to start thinking, asking yourself questions like that. Why? To have a leader, the Rastafarians, I wonder, do they know that he was um, thrown in jail? And then, they believe that he was executed. How could that happen? And why would they still worship if now he's gone? And again, it's the faith that this Savior is going to come and take you away. This other YouTuber I'm really thinking about, I saw him on a video earlier today, and he was talking about Ethiopia and talking about religion and how certain religions, religion could hinder people's development, their mental development. You have cults out there, he was mentioning, this other YouTuber. And they depend on you to become religious so you don't have to think. Religion thinks for you. But somehow the people who control the religion seem to be wealthy and they have heaven on earth. But they want you to work hard and get your heaven when you're dead. And so this other YouTuber say, hey, why can't you live a life and create your heaven while you're alive? And that YouTuber is thriving. He's not begging bread. Yeah, it's like, why does certain religion, it holds tech, it's like it suppresses technology. We even have in the U.S. This religious group, they don't use the Amish. They live in isolation in the U.S., and they wear clothes from several hundred years ago, the style of clothing. And they don't believe in having certain technologies, electricity, automobile. They want to live like in a time capsule. But you know what I'm thinking? An organization like that, I wonder if it's linked with any, what do you call, occultic associations. I'm wondering whether, like, they're isolated, and I'm wondering whether the people like the Amish are really being used for their genetics. Keep them separate, have them be of this particular religious sect, and just keeping that a mindset. I think they're being used. I don't know how someone could benefit by just living in a vacuum, and because of a religion, their leaders are telling them, you're not supposed to do this or that, and he just stayed like in a bubble. People have their reasons behind what they do, why they create certain religion, and I think a lot of things with religion, and I used to be in religion. I used to be a Christian. I went to church, mostly just once a week. Sometimes I go twice. But back in the day, really just go once a week, and I read my Bible every day. And I was fascinated with the book of Revelation and Exodus. Those are my two favorite books. And so basically my focus was, when is Jesus coming? And so when you have that type of mentality, why really do anything? Because he's just going to come and take us away. But they don't really explain, okay, they take you away and bring you where? And what will you be doing over there? See, all that they don't tell you. They don't tell what's going to happen after. And if it's to save you, Well, what doesn't in their religion say that God is going to destroy all evil? So that protection is only just temporarily, because once your enemies are all destroyed, hey, there's no threat. There's no more threat. You see, like again, these groups are to just hold you back. And it's like, why is it always associated with religion with warfare? It seems like religion attracts warfare. Why do we need that? Why do we need warfare? We have tons of churches here in the United States, tons of them, especially in poor black neighborhoods. I lived in an area in Queens. You had so many churches in these black areas. And the more churches, the more poverty struck in that section of town was. It does not create bounty. It never does. But in areas where they don't have any churches around, somehow they're flourishing. Someone is tapping into your energy, your own personal power. These religious groups are, it's my little doggy. Come here. Come. You want to get in a video? Yeah, she's in the background there. Come here, Lily. Get in the camera. Okay. Yeah, so you have to start analyzing different things that you see. Yeah, it's their artwork that they have with the religious items that they have, that they wear. It looks gorgeous. I love the robes and all that. It looks gorgeous. But is it serving them? You have to ask yourself, is it serving you? Is religion where you live, other countries, right? And I speak to the U.S. also. Is religion serving you? Why is it that they're always fighting? Always fighting. I want liberation for everybody. Liberation. It can be liberation if you have a program, and the program is designed for you to blame yourself, that you're a sinner or you're a bad person. And that's when you say that you're a sinner, you're saying you're a bad person. You're innately bad. So does that mean those people who don't have all those churches, that means they're innately good and God favors them over you? I'm tired of seeing these nations and black people going into these religions that does not serve them, that doesn't spark creative thought. So that when a famine hits their land, they have the technology to get out of poverty. They had in Ethiopia they had all this technology to build these wonderful infrastructure. So they could dig down real deep. So when did they be able to dig for a well? See, something was introduced to humanity in Africa. And I think with ancient Egypt, that Egypt themselves took advantage of the people there. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not an expert, I'm not an Egyptologist or anything like that. But I'm just asking myself, okay, what does modern day Egypt have? Pyramids. And really nothing much else. It's I've been there in the military. And it's a nice place. The people are friendly. But you have to ask yourself, it's like stuck in time. And I was told by that other YouTuber, there's a lot of poverty there. a lot of suffering of young children. Come here. Yeah, you ask yourself, how could a place like Egypt, with these humongous pyramids, they have more than one, and the people now don't know anything about the building of that, the knowledge they must have had to build that. What happened to it? I think religion is what happened. It went on the, it went through so many invasions from the north, invasions from the east, and they're not thriving. They heavily rely on tourism. What if those, could you imagine if those buildings weren't there anymore? Those pyramids, it wouldn't have anything. I think these outside religions were like a something to really mess with you. And it even gets men and women fighting. Oh, you're a woman, you're not supposed to talk in church, you're not supposed to do this. The first educator are women. Who teaches those little kids how to tie their shoelaces? Who teaches them how to put their little pants or skirt on? A woman. Who teaches them how to speak? Basically the woman, because the woman's always around them, right? And they learn how to speak from the women that are taking care of them. So how could you then say, you to be silent? See, it's a program. It's something that's designed to do just that, to cause strife, to cause that you're looking at the duality, such as male and female. Throughout scriptures, it's always something about the men and the women. There's a problem. I think all that is man-made, that conflict between men and women, I think that was introduced. Racism was a system that was introduced to humanity. Yes, you have people who may, about scarcity and stuff, and when you live next to your neighbor and both of you don't have, yet that can cause strife. So it's nothing personal. But these Abrahamic faith systems seem to make it personal attack upon others because of their religion or their gender. Somehow they're thriving, but you're not. Why do you stand for it? Why do we stand for the crumbs? It's really not serving you. Those people in Ethiopia, why were they why masses of death? Because they're not expanding their mind. Interesting though, with Islam, early Islam, and again, I'm not a scholar or anything like that, watching a program about when Islam was spreading, when it went into North Africa, and there was like a burst of this, architecture and things. They were building things. They had this geometry down pat, and it created a lot of, they were able to build things. So I don't know how that happened, but now you don't see that same spark. It's like they allowed the spark when they were forming the religion, but then once it acquired all these places, it seemed like it went back to the Dark Ages. That creativity they had in building and science, it got, boom, got stuck. People living the same way how they lived thousands of years ago. I'm just saying, again, if any faith system serves you, you serve it. But start to wonder why certain elements are in your country, or countries like that. I think it's food for thought. Yeah, again, this isn't to insult a country. Anybody could face what they were faced with. Anybody. I mean, I live here in New York City, and there's a lot of things going down, and I openly talk about it. It is really bad, and I feel helpless and hopeless because I can't do anything to improve it. So, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about. I want us all, including myself, to really learn to think outside of the box. They want us to think certain ways, and it's for a reason. So that's all. So I hope you like this live stream. Well, I didn't know I was going to even talk about this today, but when I saw those 2 programs on Ethiopia, it's really exciting to watch. But I had to ask a question: why? Why is it just such a grand history? But why they're in the position and even willing to fight for Russia? I mean, people could do whatever they want to, but wow. So I thank you all for listening to this live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, I hope I didn't offend anybody. I hope again, my doing this video was not to offend Rastafarians or Orthodox people from Ethiopia. What's happening to you is happening all over the world in some form. And I'm seeing that perhaps that the common denominator is the religion. And it may be sapping your resources, but it's not feeding you. And so you may have to really wake up from that. So again, I thank you all for, excuse me, I thank you all for listening and watching. I'm getting a little tired. My little eyes are a little tired right now. I had a busy day. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this live stream. And let me know what you think with the information that I mentioned. Does it resonate with you? Some of the things that I shared. Do you notice the same type of characteristics of your place's history and what's happening within it? Start noticing trends. Start noticing what's going on. Yeah. So thank you again. Yes, good afternoon. I hope you enjoyed this. Give me a thumbs up. And those of you who like this content, you may wish to PayPal me, and to do so, just go on my channel, Spirit Journey. And on the top right of my banner on my channel, you'll see my PayPal me link. Just click on the link and follow the prompt. Any amount will be greatly appreciated. And I thank you in advance. Take care and enjoy your day. Okay? Take care. And best wishes to Ethiopia and other nations like that who are trying to build itself up and keep your independence. Thank you again. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.